Hey, welcome to Drum Table. This is episode 2. We got the great, amazing Scott Kinnison. What's up, Scott?
Hey, guys.
Dave Fox.
What's up, everybody?
And Mike Walsh.
Hey, guys.
So 3 great teachers. I know you guys were really in it, like one-on-one, doing the classes, doing everything, and, person to person and all that stuff. And all of a sudden COVID-19 hit and now you're all teaching online. So
here we are.
Here we are. Exactly. We're all Zooming.
Yeah.
So what has changed? Like teaching wise, do you teach differently? Do you still teach kind of the same? Do you approach the drums differently? Do you approach the way you talk to your students, the way you inform them, all that stuff? Whoever wants to jump in, go ahead, Mike.
I mean, I'm not sure about any of the others, but this was all new to me. I'd always wanted to get into online teaching, but just hadn't had the opportunity yet. So it was one of those things. It was like, bam, okay, here you go. You got a week to get ready, and you're doing it. So it's been. I feel like it's been finals week in college for like the last month. Just learning a lot and just making it happen. And I think it's adapting. I learned that right away that it's going to be a different experience, but it has some advantages. Making the best of the situation, and there's definitely made me rethink a lot of how I teach, because certain things you can communicate, when you're right with the student, they don't quite translate. But there's other things that have been valuable too with this way of teaching. But I'm curious how it's been for you, Scott and Dave, if you've taught online before or.
So no, I'm in the same boat you were. I played my last gig March 15th, maybe. Okay. And that was a stretch. We squeezed that in. March 16th, that was it. Like I was started online teaching that day.
Wow.
And I think I had a little bit of time on the Saturday before where, luckily in my house, which it's taken a couple of years, Zeke has been here, but I finally had this space here that I actually didn't use too much because I was teaching and working all the time. So I was like, all right, well, we're going to make that space the online teaching studio. And I got it together like in an afternoon. I had my daughter, who also plays drums, I had her go up to her room and we did the first online Skype lesson. Like I said, get your phone and go to your room. I'm sure I drove her nuts, but I was like working out all these bugs. And not only did I not do online teaching before this, I was kind of anti-online teaching. Like people would be like, yeah, I took a Skype lesson. I was like, how the heck do you do that? Like, how can you get with someone and really tell the way they play? So like you, it's been it's opened my mind up to a lot. And I think the most important thing, and I feel that everyone here is definitely on this page, is that we're trying to keep this moving forward as much as we can. I think that to embrace all that is not normal about this is fine. And the fact that we need, the students need to be doing this because this is all that we have.
Yeah.
And if we don't do this, we're going to lose students. And I think we all know that when you lose students, not even for our benefit, for their benefit, we'll get new students. But when someone stops, it's really hard to start back up. And this is uncharted territory. So I think it's commendable, everybody that's sticking with it, and commendable that we're all like, okay, we're in this together. We don't know what we're doing, or we're learning what we're doing, but we're moving forward, and we're still getting the information out there, and we're keeping the passion of what we do going.
Right.
And we got to think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's been a lot of work, but I've learned a lot for sure.
Yeah. What about you, Scott?
Well, first, I hope everybody is healthy and safe out there. I hope you guys, family and friends, and are doing all right. And anybody watching this video, I hope everything's okay for you. So I had never taught online previous to I was just looking at my calendar here. March 30th was my first lesson online. I actually had a pretty full day, which is nice. Yeah, I was not ready. The week before that, or maybe the 2 weeks before that, I was basically going online, researching, going through all the different channels I could find of people that do this, and figuring out things like, did I have enough internet speed? Running speed tests. I had to rerun cables through my house. I needed to find a laptop that could handle this. I needed to figure out what angle I needed to have. My setup up here was set up for me to just practice. It wasn't set up for me to teach.
Exactly.
So it was like rearranging things and then doing like the tests, like Dave was talking about, figuring out how to use Zoom. And then it was about reaching out to my students and seeing if they were willing and open to trying this new method. And I was kind of surprised that I thought more would have been into it. But there's a lot of different circumstances. I have students that have lost their jobs, adults, and they just don't have the finances to do it. I've got some students that aren't really tech savvy, and as simple as it is to get this up and running, to be honest with you, once you know what you're doing, they're just hesitant to do it. So they didn't want to do it. And then of course I've got some really young kids, like, really young, that just, they would like stare at the computer like, they don't know what to do,
Right.
But I've managed to hold about 20 students.
That's
at
great.
this point.
It's great.
I got to expand. Maybe that's something we can talk about in this thing. But
Sure.
As far as my style of teaching, it has changed a lot. And I don't know if you want me to go into details about that, Zeke, or...
Sure. It's definitely. It's everything. I think all of us are like you guys said, we're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First time at it. I did a couple Skype lessons here and there. I had a couple students, one in Utah and one in California for a bit. But I was like at the drum set and being able to like really show them, and I'd say, okay, I play this, and then they play it. And then this is totally, I have a drum set, but it's totally different. Like it's really different the way that you approach it. You can't say, hey, try this out. You have to really get into the vocabulary of it and really be able to verbalize what you're really trying to teach, as opposed to just showing.
Yeah.
So for me, that's what's been going on. And I didn't have my Newton students, and then all of a sudden my phone started buzzing, and the parents texting me, hey, can you do a lesson through Zoom or Skype or whatever? I was like, yes, I can.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So yeah, Scott, if there's like some more details that you want to, kind of elaborate on, for sure. I think, this is, and any of you guys, this is more of like informational for other teachers as well as students that are saying, okay, well, I want to teach, say, students, or I want to take lessons. I just don't know how to do it. What do I do?
Yeah. So
what platform do I use, or whatever?
Yeah. So, well, as far as the platform goes, I've been using Zoom. It gives me the most control with adjusting the audio. Mm-hmm. But I need to improve on that end, though, as far as my audio quality. But one thing that has changed for me is that I always wrote in my students' notebooks. I wrote detailed notes for them when we were doing one-on-one lessons. And because I wanted to write things down very clearly for them. Well, now that I can't do that, I am making them write it down. And I'll tell you, getting them engaged, getting them writing the information down has turned into a really good thing. It's a positive.
Yeah,
they tend to,
absolutely.
yeah, they remember, you know, the next week, you know, even if they don't have their notebook with them,
Right.
like, oh yes, I remember I did this, this, and this. Trying to figure out how to get them to write out notation.
Yeah.
You know, there's a cool feature with Zoom where you can share what's called a whiteboard, and you can draw and draw
Oh,
out,
cool. I didn't know that.
which is difficult to do because you're using a mouse. But what I do is I use letters. So B is for bass, S is for snare,
Yeah.
you know, hi-hats or H's or whatever, and I
Oh,
type them
cool.
out in the shape of a measure, you know, kind of like tab,
Oh, okay,
and
cool.
have them transfer it down onto their notebook if they need to. And then also emailing them information ahead of time, you know, worksheets, PDFs. One of the unique situations for me is that all of my books are in Manchester, where my studio is.
Right.
And I haven't been to Manchester in over a month, so I'm having to come up with creating material on the spot. So, which is cool, you know, it's keeping me busy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, with the biggest change with some of my students has been, you know, right away I could just tell, you know, if they had bad internet or maybe not, you know, a great computer or a mic, like just kind of hearing them in the lesson was really challenging sometimes. So, you know, you know, a great thing that uh, they've gotten out of this and I've gotten out is just having students record themselves. So just they'll record their assignment and you know, email it to me the day before, and I'll listen to it. And that's been a good experience for both of us, and just for students to kind of really hear what they sound like, and then you know maybe they would practice a little more than they normally would because they know they were going to have to record it and send it, you know, send it to their teacher to listen to. So that's something that I think, you know, things get back to normal. That's something I'll try to keep part of my teaching is just having students record themselves regularly.
Yeah, it's key. That's key. Just to build off that a little bit, exactly. So I kept everybody in a mindset of we're still, because when this hit is usually when we start recital mode or some sort of, so you've got your normal lesson and everybody's building to a recital. So exactly what you're saying, Mike, I was like, all right, so just tape yourself doing your piece and send it to me. And I made like a little tutorial, actually my daughter, again, I put her up to doing it. But I said, and I showed two ways. Like we have a PA down here. So I was like, okay, here's playing along the PA. I said, also, if you don't have a PA, you can make a recording just wearing earbuds. Your teacher will know what you're playing. Like, will know. And actually, I have one mother that takes the kid's recording and then syncs it up like in either iMovie. She makes these fantastic videos.
What?
I get them the day before. Like, yeah, they're great.
That's
The kid's
awesome.
like, it is awesome. And I'm like, and you could tell he's getting into it. And lo and behold, he's actually doing more than if we were meeting face to face. So the other thing is this, you hit on something really important, Mike. When they go to record themselves and like, so I had a teacher, like one of my first teachers was like, tape yourself all the time. So old school, I had like the boombox with the cassette tape where you could record. And I used to just make these tapes of myself in my basement when I was playing. But you get really conscious of that. And honestly, that's a form of practice because it's repetition. And the student's like, oh, this means something now. I can't just kind of blow this off. So, and you'll notice that students, kids are really wired to, through technology and video games, keep doing it till it's better. So if you give them like a like small, like nothing huge, but like make a little clip of yourself playing, they'll watch it and be like, oh, I don't really like that. I want to do it again. So it's like, kind of got them to practice a little bit. So it's a good thing. I agree with that. Totally, Mike. And then to hit on something you were talking about, Scott, totally with not having, luckily I do have most of my materials here because I saw when this was going down and I just grabbed everything. But doing the whole, like Bob used to, with the big binder where he writes down everybody's lesson. So I've got that, but I don't have anyone else's folder. So I'm making them write them down. And then I take a screenshot right at the end of the lesson. And whatever format we're doing it on, I take a second and send it to them. And I'll sometimes CC the parent. And then for a couple concepts that we're doing across the board, I'll make a video. Like I'll make a little clip, YouTube clip of, you know, I try and make it so that it's at least themed or it makes sense. And I try and make it to different levels. I've done a couple of them and those have been good because then I can email them to them just like and be like, hey, here's a little lesson on a sticking thing.
Right.
And then when we meet next week, I'll be like, did you watch the video? And they'll be like, whoa. I'll be like, or I could tell they watched it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I put them up on social media too. And people either can like them or not like them, but you know.
Question?
Yeah, man.
Dave, are those the, I've seen a couple of videos of yours on, I think it might have been on Facebook.
Yeah, I put them up everywhere.
And, you know, talking about syncopation, death context. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I do that. And then I have yeah, pretty much. Those are them. And then I'll make kind of sometimes a smaller one if a student needs something specific and just send it to them. Quick, though. Like, hey, here's what it is. Try this. Like if it's not coming across like how we're doing this, you know. But I find those ones that you've seen, everybody has responded really well to them.
Yeah, they're fantastic. I mean, my students are actually catching them and watching them.
Well,
and
thank you. Appreciate that. Well, that's been a huge learning experience. Like, I was kind of like, I'm like you guys where we're going. And then it's like things slow down and I'm like, okay, we got to do something here. I'm just feeling it. That helped me to stay busy and to stay kind of on track.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was putting them out there to nobody for a couple weeks. I was like, all right, well, here are these videos, you know? And then like, what's funny is I had a sister contact me and she's like, I have no idea what you're talking about on those videos, but like, keep making those videos. They're highly enjoyable. She's like, I really, yeah. She's like, I didn't know you knew so much. She's like, she's like, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but you're very knowledgeable. So, and I was like, okay, well, there you go. So I encourage that. And not so much, you know, there's the putting that stuff up on social media of your playing, of course, and you know, do all that. But, you know, for your students, it's kind of cool. You can kind of tailor stuff. And I find that like, you know, the lessons kind of come really very clear because the syncopation one to me was inspired by the fact a lot of students were coming to me with that book and they were like, someone told me to get this book.
Right.
And I'm like, well, do you know how to use that book? And they're like, yeah, you start on page 34. And I'm like, okay. And what exactly do you do on page 34? And they're like, well, I get the thing. And I was like, do you know what quarter notes are? And I wasn't saying that in a snarky way or anything. I was like, no, let's kind of go to the beginning and get a good foundation. Right. And then you can steer them once, you know, you felt that they've got that, then you could steer them in any number of information out there on the second half of the book. I don't know about you guys, but one of the hardest things of doing this is just trusting that your content is good. Like, trust yourself because the online world, guys have been doing it for years and it's daunting when you're like, oh, I got to teach video lessons now, and you see some of these guys and it's like a Hollywood production and they're awesome and I love them, you know, but it's like, whoa. But I think we're good teachers, you know?
Yeah.
And you're a good teacher to your student. Like I told you, Mike, just press record. Like you're good. And that's in your students, like they'll respond to that. Like they're worth it, you know? So
the thing I've noticed, you know, I think it's just important more than ever for us to just be inspiring them and just showing them that we're into this and we're excited about it and we're you know we're still happy to be teaching and I think you know like sharing videos, just showing just people that we're still moving forward and finding inspiration in this time. And I think that's what's made the difference. Even with some of my students were maybe the first week or two, they just weren't too sure about it, but they saw I was into it. They saw that, we're doing this, and I think it sold them on it. And I think it's just, it really makes a difference when people see that we're still working at our craft and still staying inspired.
Yeah. Dave, to kind of piggyback on what you were saying, I think Scott and I don't remember who it was. I was talking to someone about a few drummers who have like that Hollywood production type of thing that you're talking, like cameras of different angles and like, you know,
Awesome.
I got an overhead and I got the side view and the bass drum view and this and that. It's just like, yeah, it can definitely be daunting when you're just sitting there and go, okay, I got my pad and my phone. Right, left, right, left.
And you've got to do it in a day. It was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
hey, we're going online today.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, okay. But I think Mike, you made a really good point about like when we learned that it's important to just keep going and keep everyone positive.
Yeah. Yeah, Scott.
Dave, I noticed the quality of your videos are good. I mean, they seem like they're maybe a step or two above what I'm normally seeing from just a laptop camera, laptop mic. Are you using
That's my production team that no one knows about. So. That's my production team. My key grip and I have what I think is
trailers
really,
do you have trailers outside your house?
Yes, we do. We have a catering truck. It's amazing.
I don't like this.
Yeah. So Scott, the connection with your Wi-Fi on both ends is the most important. Okay, I'm not a tech guy, but having a really clear Wi-Fi like this is really clear. And if you don't have that, I believe like hardwiring an Ethernet cable, perhaps, to make sure that is strong. Now, most of my stuff is going through, I'm using actually just the Apple product microphone for most of it. This is a 7th gen iPad, and then my phone is the 11. And I think, I could be wrong here, but I think Apple's stuff is made because so much of social media that it can handle like being at a concert and then turning to someone and speaking. Whereas on some of these like the biggest problem getting around Zoom, of course, was returning it to original sound, where it was you would play on the drums and the mics would be like, oh, and then they would like, then someone would go to talk and you couldn't do it. So you'd have to get in there. So I use all the platforms. I use Skype, Zoom. FaceTime audio is the best though. Yes. And I think it's because of the connection I have here, and thankfully most of my students have a great connection. And some of them, it's scary good. Like it's, you know, and then, I mean, I do have a PA and stuff, but I actually don't use the interface. I'm really going with the natural thing. The best thing I got though for the visual teaching is, and I can send you guys a link. I don't know if I can do it right now, but I got like this wide angle thing. Do you see that?
Oh yeah.
So it's just like little camera.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I know those.
It's a little fuzzy, right? And then I have a stand, but so now when you're trying to get, I'm sitting in the same spot, but if it's next to the kit, I probably should have done it that way. And you need to have someone see your feet, you can do that. And then you can kind of come back to, I'm right here.
Wow.
So that came from MJ's where I teach, guitar player who is great. This guy, Chris Bryant, he like right away was like, if you got an iPad, get this. I don't know. He just had these great tips like right off the bat. And this was one of them. And I ordered it, Amazon. It was like, I don't know, $35 or something. So
nice.
Made a difference because that was a hard thing, Scott. Like first couple lessons, I was like, trying to move the camera. Hey, look at my feet, you know.
All right.
So
now that's just a clip-on, right?
Yeah, it's just a.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I got one of those. They're great.
And to prove anyone can do this, I mean, Zeke, you know, because you've known me for years, I'm the least techie person out there. I really am. I'm like, so the fact that I'm figuring this stuff out just shows that if your mindset is like, we're going to do this, you know, I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the first couple of weeks of teaching, I felt I was teaching all day. I do the family thing at night, put the kids at bed. And then I was up hours every night researching stuff or watching the videos of how I was teaching, listening to it. And just because we have no gigs anymore, and it's just like, I felt that it was like going back to school, Mike. Yeah. Like I had to take a day 2 weeks in and be like, I'm not getting online today. I'm not, like, it was a day I didn't have any students. Like there's so much, I mean, our heads were just in here for like a couple of weeks, crash course and everything.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. So Zoom, Skype, FaceTime, I know I use, I have a Shure microphone that sometimes, because I do a lot of the stuff, you know, you're talking about connection, so I do a lot of stuff with my phone. So I have this Shure mic called the MV88, and just plug it right into the phone, and I get great connection, great sound, stuff like that.
Now, does that, if you were doing like, if you were Skyping and you put the mic on the phone, that makes it so that the audio is better?
Right.
And how about if you were like making a video, like that would?
That's what I use for all my videos.
Cool.
You know, I think it runs like about 250 or something like that. But
it just goes right.
But you know, there's no battery or anything. It just attaches to your phone. So it's whatever batteries your phone is, right? And so your phone is the camera, is, you know, everything, and that's just the mic. And I mean, the sound is unbelievable. It's really great. Are there any mics that you guys are using, or is it like just free floating, whatever comes out of the computer, phone, whatever?
Yeah, I'm curious to know. I mean, that's I'm at the point where I'm starting to research, and I have heard about the Shure mic that you're talking about, Zeke. And Scott, I remember you were mentioning, do you have a Zoom mic that you were looking to?
Yeah, so I don't have it here, but I do own a Zoom Q3, which is a HD recorder. Unfortunately, it will not work as an external camera on the Zoom platform. It's confusing because they're both called Zoom.
Called Zoom.
Not
Yeah.
related. You can't use it as an external. It stinks because I went on, I bought this like really expensive adapter and blah, 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 and it doesn't work. I think you could potentially use it for the condenser mics and just use it for audio, but it will not work as an external camera. So, and speaking of Zoom, one thing that Zoom, the platform, which is kind of a bummer, I was initially told that because of the pandemic, the free version of Zoom would allow you to go unlimited time. I don't know if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing, but it's saying we got 5 minutes before the
40 minutes.
Yeah. Well, so the last video that I did was 1 hour and 8 minutes.
Yeah, it's so inconsistent.
So I don't quite know what this is. I'm looking at it. I'm like, I was just about to say, oh, we got about 5 more minutes.
It's going to kill us. But some days I'll go hours without it. I don't understand. Some little troll is back there like, end the meeting.
They're going to insert your credit card here.
Exactly. Well, I mean, if it cuts out, it cuts out, and then, you know, that's that, you know. You mentioned when I talked to you, you were talking about a friend of yours, I guess, said that on the computer there's a button or something like that where you can change the sound of the Zoom microphone or something like that.
Yeah. So with Zoom, you go into the audio settings, and there's a few key things that you want to have. And this is really, really important. Okay. So one of the keys is that there's, you're going to go into an audio setting, and then you're going to see an advanced tab. You can't do this on you can't do this on a pad.
iPad. It's got to be a laptop.
It's got to be a laptop. Okay. So no, it doesn't work with a mobile system. So there's an advanced tab. Click on that, and then you're going to see a sentence that says the ability to turn on original sound. You want to make sure that box is checked, because what that does for you is it kind of takes the gate off, and the drums resonate naturally, and it doesn't clip. Because if you don't take that, if you don't put on original sound, the mics will cut you off. Okay. And then the other thing is there's these 3 little settings, okay? And it says disable constant background noise, disable non-constant background noise, and then the third one is something about echo. You want to disable the first 2 and leave the third one on auto, and that will get you your best results. Okay.
Yeah.
That took me a while to figure out because
Yes.
I asked a million people. I've been doing, I've been watching a lot of Sabian webinars in the last few weeks. They've been doing an amazing job providing great information. And these guys are like the top of the top. This guy, Jim Toscano, he's got like, he designs studios for people, you know, like what kind of mics and video gear and all that kind of stuff. So I'm actually thinking about maybe reaching out to him and getting some help, because
Cool.
I want to bring this up. This is another thing I'll just say quickly. This method of education is here to stay. Okay, the world is never going to be the same as it was. It's just like after 9/11, you know, things changed, and some things for the better, and this is going to stay. So, you know, I'm going to embrace it. I'm going to continue to use this somehow in my teaching. You know, maybe it's an alternative.
It's certainly sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's certainly now a good alternative tool for like snow days.
Yeah.
So snow day comes and be like, hey, everybody, let's just jump online. We don't miss a lesson.
Right.
You know? Yeah. And I don't know, but you guys, if you got a child, like I know for me, like if one of my kids is home sick, I can be like, all right, I'll go online. I'll go downstairs. I'll do everything online. And I think to your point, Scott, I think it's going to help. You know, one of the challenges of us teaching school-aged students was you had drum lessons, but then you had spring sports or fall sports. Schedule would change. It's like, oh, we got auditions on Tuesday. And, you know, everybody's trying to do so much and the hardest thing with us as teachers is we have to have consistency. We can't miss 3 lessons in a row. Right. You know, we can't have a snow day, an audition day, one of us has a gig, and then it's like you haven't seen your student in a month, and then the student becomes disinterested because they haven't practiced. So now I think there's just not even in a taxing way, but in a really positive way, you can be like, hey, I understand, but let's hop online for a minute this week after your game, or before. Let me just see where you're at with what you're playing. You know, 15 minutes. Right. And to that point too, I think like one thing I experienced this past week that might help you guys with the whole new way of doing things is it was Monday, which used to be a holiday, but it's kind of not this year, and it's April vacation, but it's not. So I had like all my Monday students forget, or I had a couple parents, you know, text me and be like, oh my God, I totally forgot. I'm painting the house today. And I wrote back, I was like, yeah, don't worry about it. I'm like, there has never been a time I've been more flexible than right now. Right. So if you'd like your lesson tomorrow, we'll do it tomorrow.
Hey, you guys, Mike and Dave, you guys swapped places.
We did?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know mine.
Little technical difficulties.
That's all right.
But,
oh, you know why? Because Mike joined last time. So
yeah, there you go. That's what it was. Right.
The last person slot.
There you go. You were saying before we got cut off by Zoom that, you know, you're so much more flexible now.
Yeah.
And, you know, you got so much more time to say, let's do it on a Friday, you know.
Well, I don't want to, you know, you got to be careful of that too, because you don't want to make it so open-ending. You know, like, it's like like my wife works from home now, and it feels she's just like, there is no 9 to 5 anymore. Like, you know, so you do got to keep structure, because if you're like, I'm going to teach anytime, you'll be teaching every day. You'll be doing a lesson every day, where you got to be careful of that a little bit. So you should, and the students need that too. Like, you do need some structure. Tuesday is my lesson. I do my lesson on Tuesday. But at the same time, like, you know, I have a student who's like, dad's a firefighter and mom is a nurse. And he was like totally apologetic that like they forgot their lesson. I'm like, dude, please. I'm like, and I offered, then they had to cancel the second one. And we just like, their Monday lesson, and we got it in on Wednesday. And they were super appreciative. And I was like, don't even worry about it. Like, people are dealing with some heavy stuff right now, you know, and not to say that we're not, but, you know, like, you can be a little bit more flexible, and we're teaching young kids too. So, you know, I told the parent too, like, you know, if it's a 70-degree day coming up and you guys are out for a hike and you don't make it back by 3 o'clock, just text me. Like, I'll see you, I will find time. So that's one of the advantages we're in now. Again, though, there are students that you can't do that with because it's not as wise.
Right. Politically correct.
Politically correct. So politically correct. Yeah, we were right before you signed back on. We were talking about, you know, we were going to be let out, you know, from this quarantine on May 4th. At least
that ain't happening.
But you know, you kind of touched on it a little bit before. When this is all said and done, and we're back into our, you know, teaching one-on-ones in person, you know, actually being able to see a live person in front of us besides the computer. Are you still planning on kind of doing the Zoom stuff? I know you talked about, you know, snow days and stuff, but, you know, right now having the Zoom thing or, in, you know, whatever, Skype, whatever lessons, kind of opens the door for you to teach anywhere around the world. Like, you know, who wants to teach in Germany and who wants to, you know, teach students in Australia and, you know, that type of thing.
One thing that I noticed right away that an opportunity is because I already had at least one student talk about, you know, knowing they're going to be moving next year and now like knowing that, you know, I can keep a great student I've had for 8 years that's moving. And I'm sure all of you can relate. That's been one of the toughest things with this job is, you know, you work with a student that, you know, you have a good rapport with and you're really proud of their progress, and then they up and move and they wish they could continue, but, you know, they're in a different state or going to a different school. So I think that's one thing I'm really excited about with this is you know, be able to keep a connection with some students that I might have lost otherwise just because of circumstances.
Yeah. Yeah. What about anybody else, or, you know, are you going to be teaching in Kalamazoo or something?
I just thought of something just popped in my mind that I hadn't even thought of. So I had this student who was 13, and she was like the student you want, you know, like just the ultimate student, to the point where she was playing at Boston Symphony Hall.
Wow.
You know, on a regular basis in the youth orchestra. So sadly, she stopped taking lessons with me because she was having to travel to Boston like 2 or 3 times a week. And it was like, there just wasn't time for her to be doing that and coming to take an hour lesson a week with me. But now that this exists, I should reach out to her.
Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, because she's not even doing that anymore, right? Because that's not happening.
Right.
So, you know, I think maybe a good idea for all of us would be go back in the catalog of names, past students that didn't work out because their work schedule changed, they moved, you could never get them in the first place because of timing.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, reach out for that way, you know.
Yeah. No, I think you know, all of those are great ideas. I think that you know, Dave, you said at the beginning, you know, on the first part of the video,
Part one,
you know, that you know, you got to really think outside the box. You know,
a little bit.
It's definitely, you know, it's a trial and error for sure, and you know, I think
I think there'll be. I think there's a lot we've learned that will definitely like give us more, enhance what we do.
Right.
You know, there is something at the core of this that I know we all miss. I mean, we all miss being in a room with live playing, and there are some certain things we get. Like, I teach a bunch of ensembles at school I teach, you know, and like that is just turned into, you can't really do it. You can't. I mean, we've done the best we can, you know, and we're going to continue to do some different things. Like, you know, one of them's a jazz ensemble, so I encourage that everybody's doing play-alongs and stuff at home, or, you know, not ideal, but like we've got to keep it going so that when we do get back together, we haven't lost that much time. So, you know, there are certain things that when we're finally let out of this, I'll be like, great, let's please get back to what we're doing. I know it's not going to be the same, but, you know, I mean, I'm not like, oh yeah, this is the only way I want to do this from now on.
Right.
But there are some things I have learned that have opened my mind, in that, like, you know, besides teaching in your pajama pants all day, like you can, which I don't do, but like, I mean, you can get you can have more time. You can be like, you know what, I can squeeze 2 more lessons in because I don't have to commute. I don't have to bounce for a gig. I don't have to, you know, do whatever that, you know, sometimes you got to cut your day short. Now it's, I don't know, I just feel that too is like, for the patience it needed to teach online lessons, and you do need more patience, and you do need a different way to do it. I feel that some of the other distractions that aren't here, travel for one, helps you to be, it helps, because now when you come down, like when I come down here to teach, like I'm really engaged for the amount of time I teach, you know, because you have to be,
Right.
Because you can't, like, you know, go get coffee while, you know, they're going to notice you're not here, you know.
Hey, I'll be right back.
I'll be right back. Have like that, have Mike's thing where you have a picture
Right,
of
there you
yourself.
A picture, a still. Hey, I got a question, Zeke.
Yeah.
That I'd like to pose to all you guys. So, like, you know, I'm a little bit of a nervous person in general, you know, or I should say cautious. You know, I packed it up and stopped teaching, like, early on, the one-on-one, you know. And the reason being is my studio is, you know, whatever size room, and it's airtight. There's no circulation. I got kids that are 4 years old that come in and are touching everything. I've got adults, I've got elderly people. I have my in-laws live with me. Well, they live in an in-law apartment. And so once I saw that this coronavirus thing was the real deal, I was like, I'm out of here. That's it. And I've been following the guidelines set by the CDC. And I'm looking at the return to work, and I'm thinking, like, God, I'm going to be like one of the last people to be able to actually get back doing what I need to do, or like get back doing what I used to do. Mm-hmm. Because I'm going to be in the tiny room. It's in Manchester, which happens to be, you know, probably has the most cases of COVID in the state. It's not going away anytime soon.
Right.
And just the interpersonal, not being able to distance. So it kind of worries me. And I'm thinking, like, I might be having to do this online thing for a few months. I don't know what you guys think, what your thoughts are.
I think I'm prepared to do this for a while, and I'm going to invest in being the best that I can, because I think that is the reality that's there. We're going to be doing this for a while, and just make the best of it and be prepared and stay inspired.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, it's a lot of wiping down, Clorox bleach wipes, and masks.
Don't drink it though. Don't ingest that though.
Oh yeah, that's right. I might do that Tide Pods. I'd be like drunk. Tide Pod.
I thought this was ending with the Tide Pod challenge.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not going back for a while. At least definitely not to Northeastern. Summer 1 and summer 2 is online.
Yeah.
So who knows what's going to happen come September? So I'm right here.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We just wait and we find out. And two things is if that's what we need to do, you just keep doing it. You know what I mean? Like what this is for us and for the people. Okay, so at some point, we're here because what our lessons in playing meant something enough. It was important enough that we needed it. All right. For whatever reason, we're all here doing this because this was important enough. We didn't want to do other things. So now is one of those times that you need to remind yourself of that. And you need to remind yourself that the student, it means something to most of them. So, you know, I'm thinking of the teachers I had that meant a lot to me, and what music and drumming meant to me when it was at certain, and they actually, I'm sure I'm not alone, but it comes to you in a point in life when you need it. That's why this becomes your thing.
Right.
You know, it's so keep it going any way you know how, because I just think if I was 14 and I had my first teacher and he called me up and be like, hey, we have to do this over the phone. We're doing this over the phone. I would have been like, okay, sounds good.
Right.
I'll be ready for next week. And then all week I would have been like, yeah, Mr. T said he was Mr. I wasn't like Mr. T, but Mr. T. Although if Mr. T called me, that would have been awesome.
Come on, sucker.
Come on.
Fool.
Put the paradiddles down, fool.
Fool.
But, so you keep going till we figure it out, because we don't know. And Scott, I mean, I feel you, because I teach all ages too, and yeah, there's a little bit of anxiety when you start to think. I actually think about it more on the gigging end, to be honest with you guys, when I'm starting to think of getting back to just how much you interact with people you don't know when you gig. You know, you go to a place, you're around people, you leave. Even when this was starting to, when this was starting to come on.
Yep.
I remember one of the last gigs I did, I shook like 10 people's hands, and I was driving home. I was like, oh man, you know, it like hit me in a weird, and it's not a huge deal, but I was like, ooh. And that's something you gigs, you're
Right.
always interacting.
Right.
So I think, Scott, I have a little bit of anxiety or just wonder of how are we going to get back to this? I think it's more on the gigging end. I think of that. The teaching end, I'm hell-bent on being positive and keeping going, you know, and mainly because of that, because, you know, this meant something to me when I needed it, and I need it now. I think we all do. And the students need it too, you know, and we're going to lose a couple, and we might gain a couple, but I don't know. I just hope, I hope we get back to some semblance of normalcy at some point, you know.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I was
And we're lucky. We're lucky. We can actually we can do this.
right.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah,
know, we are.
I was doing the Love Boat thing for the last few gigs. So, you know.
Yeah. Well, you just did an online gig, right? You
I
played,
I
or was
did
that
it.
taped earlier? I just saw something the
No,
other night.
no, it was online. What we did was there's this club that we play at, and it was just the band and the club owner. The room is sanitized and, you know, all cleaned and all that stuff. So yeah, it was just the band, the owner, and the guy who puts it together, and we just, you know, FaceTime, Facebook Live and Instagram Live, and just, you know, donations, and that was that.
Right.
Nice.
Must have felt good to be playing music with your friends again, though. Man.
You know what? It was great to play again, for sure. It was definitely weird because it's been like a month and a half, and it's like, oh yeah, interaction, right? How do we do this again?
Right. Right.
You know, but I really appreciate you guys for hopping on here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott and Mike and Dave. You know, the information is greatly appreciated, and I'm looking forward to seeing what people online think, and, you know, their advice and their take on it and all that stuff. So, you know, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Good to see everybody. It's really good to see you guys.
Good to see you guys. Thank you, Zeke, for doing this. It's really, really a great thing, and I look forward to trying to spread the word about it and get people watching this.
Cool.
Cool. Well, stay safe, everybody.
All right.
See you guys.
Have fun.
See you guys.
Yeah.